Hey, you people, no shirt today. I was feeling kind of stupid yesterday, and it might have been a Freon leak, so I don't carry the refrigerator up the stairs this morning. I'm taking the rest of the day off, but I'm going to make this movie here. You know, the last one I was talking about the Nephilim, and these people try to prove their case about these Nephilim, and they concentrate on this one word, Nephilim, and they don't even look at all the words around it that are telling exactly what's going on. But this one's going to blow your mind here. I showed you yesterday in that first movie in this series that, you know, the sons of these giants, the ones coming from them, became, you know, with the onomastoi, the six tits, you know, possibly a cow, a cat man. But how this all come about, you know, it came to pass, began many to become upon the earth. And the reason is because daughters were born unto them. But this daughter's born unto them, this is with two gathers, a geneticist on. You know, a geneticist. GENNHTHS, you know, a geneticist on. And it's not just a geneticist on, but it's a geneticist on. And you know this is Genesis 6, they just left Egypt. The geneticist of not to. And that's where your word not to, something, you know, you ought to do, and some things you might ought to did that, you know, same as the Greek word for death is the not tos. And this is also, you know, your nighttime, and it's your naughties, you know, back in the day. Grandma will tell you, girl, cover up your naughties. You see that here in this, the toys, T-O-I-S, in the not toys. And so it says that it was going to tweak it on this to tamper with the men's folly here, the men's folly. And that folly, you know, was the wage in it to the saint on Nicahart's on too, of Saint Nicahart's on too. Hearts is the earth, the hearts on to call. And this word for men, it changes up. Sometimes it ends with an N, but it's not the same type of men. It just means the anther, and sometimes it's upon, and sometimes it's a few, and only the good men, you know, the few men, folly. And so again it too on Nicahart's, on to call, on their a few folly, gives they a folly. I was reading that yesterday as gives they, but it's gives they, epithages, with who gathers a genetis on not to is. To gathers the genetis on not to is. And so gives they epithages, you know, upon, a pith is the perfect example, and a pithage is something you wear to show your school or your rank, you know, appendage, something growing out of, upon it. And so this few folly gives they pithages, they growed something to show their rank. To gather is the genetis on not to is. You know, something that were causing the people to gather together in cities was causing some kind of genetics that was not to's, the not to. And so this reads two times. You come back and read it with these marks, and that's why the single letter change in men makes such a difference. And with the mark, you know, it's telling you on there a foy, you know, a few, and then the other way to offer then Apollo. And you can see it better in this Bible which way this mark goes, you know. When you read it with the marks the second time, it's not share, not share hers onto, and she didn't want to share hers onto. And of joy, you know, this is telling you OYO, and it's joy, the offer, then on there a few folly. And when it ends with the end, you know, the anthropon or the anthropod, you know, with the end, then it reads, you know, the no port on, you know, the not important, the man that's not important. And that's just more proof that this was written by sailors, And the cities with no port on weren't put on the map. You didn't have a name because you weren't important. They're not important. You can't get in. And in the Hebrew, this was all in fini, all in finish had me, of now tilled will them. Tilled, T-I-L-I-D. And it's, tilled is steer the ship, to tilled. And now tilled will them. And now to tweak their DNA. And so from both of these writings, it's God talking, and he wanted to tweak the DNA. The wage will heal them, had 'em lure in, all in finish had me. I done had 'em lured in, and of now tilled will them, and now I'll tweak the DNA. And the wage of it to a nick o' hearts on to call, on their afoy folly gives they epithages, what to gathers the genitus on, the naughty is, the nautoys of what to is. And so this word for, were beholding, you have the woman Adonis, and you have the woman Idontis, and I don't do that, she was withholding. And I don't is the oi, I don't is the call to joy to. And this is, to, and then the WTH is with, and with EO is who, and with who, and W, what as. And I don't is the call to joy, to with who it as, to gather as it on thereupon, at a Callies they sin. And so Callies, that's the word for good. There's also a word for black. At a Callies they sin. So, it's a black they sin, they stain. But it's also at a Calla, the calendar. And to Callie this, Theis, this, to Callie this in, to write this in the calendar. The Lavon, they take bearings of the stars. That was your calendar that they took the lab on. Have to is. And so when you're happy to joy that a woman told you that I don't, and that could only be, do you have a man? I don't is the call to joy. Oh, she got no old man. And to with thee of what as to gather as it on thereupon, at the Callies this in, the Lavon. I'll write this in my calendar, and we'll make a date to have to is. And gonna yak as a papa's on the selection to. He's gonna put her in his book with all the others. So this we're beholding in the sons reads better as, and she didn't have a man. I don't is the call to joy. So you don't have to say I asked her if she had a man. All you have to do is tell the answer and your reaction, and that lets everybody know what you asked. To with who, what as, together as ton is fashion, on thereupon, at a Callies this sin, the Laban, have to us gonna yak, just gonna talk as a papasan on the selection too. We're just gonna talk as I make my selection. And Epicurious of thee, as how much catamayan. Epicurious. In the other Bible, this is an N with an N, and it's the hyphen. And so it has a different meanings. Hyphen means to join the words, and the hyphen curious of. And so the Greeks didn't use the hyphen. And so he's talking about he's curious of the Hebrew writings, and the hyphen curious of. And so it's a total different story here. Now it's Epicurious of. And Epicurious is curious about the food. I want to taste every woman. Epicurious. And Epicurious of thee. I want to know what you taste like. as how much catamayan. And this is cata. That's where the word category comes from. It means to label. But a catamine is anesthesia. He gonna knock her slap out. And to taste the epicurious of thee as of much. How much? Not no way, but how much of anesthesia to make her should stay a catamine on top on whom of moving to is on there opposes. And she opposes, I just slip her the catamine. To what whose diet, put it in the food, on the count of, to what to is the diet to. The hiney is the flesh. The hiney, what to us the shark as. And so this is where your word sarcasm comes from. And they give it flesh. And this tells me that it was some French, talking about the French there. The Anglo-Saxons, they named their meat for the animals. But the upper class French, they named them as prepared dishes. And Epicurus of thee as how much catamine to fun whom moving to is. To the fun whom moving, my spirit. To the fun upon whom moving to is. On their opposes to a toys the diet of the hiney obtuse. So the diet of the hiney obtuse is just another word for all the boofing, the diet of the hiney, what to use. And that's why the difference in these two Bibles, this one with the hyphen here and the hyphen curious. In the Hebrew, the hyphen means to turn around and go in the back of the word. And the hyphen curious means curious about the other end. And so a better idea of what this sarcasm means, as in flesh. Sarcasm is spelled just like this, except with an M. It just means sarcasm from. And so you think about where sarcasm comes from, and that'll give you a definition of flesh. Assholes give you a lot of sarcasm. And the hiney, what to is the sarcasm, the ass. This on to I-D-E. Ide is, cycles of moon. And this on to Ide, and A. And this on to Ide, eh? Come array what on. The cotton, they coos an itch. The cotton, the underwear. The cotton, they coos an itch. And I gotta get out of this. This is making me itch. And so that's the main reason a lot of people get naked when they go on these trips. And just so you have some clothes to put on later, because a lot of people can't stand clothes on when they're tripping. They're ripping their clothes off. And so for it a second time, it's and Epicurus of thee as how much catamine to upon whom moving to is on their opposes to what of is the diet of the hiney to is what to use. Sarka says unto the idea, IDEA, to the idea, and to the asshole says unto the idea, I come the ray of tawn, I come the ray of fashion, what on, and the cotton they cause him itch. I come the sun what on, and the cotton they cause him itch. So the first part of this is part 2, and I'm going to make another one and add some more pictures and read some more of this in the Hebrew. If you missed the first part, it looks like this, and it'd make a lot more sense of what I'm talking about here. But mostly in both Bibles here, it's been talking about tits, multiple or big, and it's all in finny, the finish, and it's Finnish, and it's the Finnish, it's the Swedish bikini team, and it's all in Finnish had me, of now till he'd will them. It's the had 'em to lure in all in, to had 'em luring all in. You know, men to multiply on the face, to had 'em lure all in. And the giant ones, they had the nipples hue, the hue, the color to bear's rich boyum. So I'll get on more on this. I'll read some more in that Greek and this Hebrew in part 3.
Don't forget, hooty hoot, hooty hoot. I won't forget.
Alright, I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.